Have you ever caught yourself trapped in your own mind, replaying the same thought over and over again until it drains the life out of you? You try to move on, try to focus, but the same loop keeps pulling you back. That voice in your head questions everything, every decision, every word, every possibility. That's overthinking. And it's not just frustrating, it's exhausting. Overthinking is the silent killer of potential. It doesn't yell, it whispers, slowly, quietly, and without you noticing, it takes control. Feel stuck, paralyzed by options, haunted by what-ifs, and terrified to take a wrong step. That inner war between wanting to act and fearing what might happen is the very thing that keeps you frozen. And the longer you stay there, the louder the noise becomes. Here's the truth most people never tell you. Overthinking is not who you are. It's just a habit you've trained your mind into. And like any habit, it can be broken. It can be rewired. If you're tired of being stuck in your own head, there's a way out. And if you stay with this message until the end, you'll understand exactly how to escape it and how to finally see clearly. Think about this. Your brain was designed to help you survive. It's always scanning, always preparing for the worst, always predicting what might go wrong. It does this to protect you. So when you overthink, your mind believes it's helping you. It thinks it's solving a problem. But what it's really doing is creating one. Most people don't realize the damage until it's already deep. Days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into years. And you begin to mistake thinking for doing, planning for progress. But nothing changes. You stay in the same place, spinning the same thoughts, while life moves on without you. That's the pain no one talks about. Not the mistakes you make, but the moments you waste doing nothing just because you're afraid to choose wrong. This is where the trap lives, in believing that more thinking will finally bring you the answer. But in reality, more thinking only brings more confusion. It's like trying to see clearly in a room full of smoke. The harder you squint, the worse it gets, because clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. Clarity comes from getting quiet. It comes from stepping away from the noise. Psychology calls it analysis paralysis. You get stuck in the gap between decision and action. You start analyzing every angle, every outcome, every risk. You don't trust yourself. You don't trust life. So you try to outthink your fear. But here's the catch. You can't solve fear with thinking. You can only overcome it with movement. The more you think, the more doubts you create. The more doubts you create, the more fear you feel. And the more fear you feel, the less likely you are to act. That cycle, it's not bad luck. It's not a flaw. It's just a pattern. And patterns can be broken. That's the power you have right now. What makes this even more powerful is that you are not your thoughts. You're just the person hearing them, the observer, the thinker. And once you understand that, you're free. Free to challenge the thought. Free to change direction. Free to stop listening to the voice that tells you you're not ready, not good enough, not smart enough. Because that voice isn't truth. It's just fear wearing a mask. The people who rise, the people who win, the people who move, they don't have fewer thoughts. They just don't obey every one of them. They've trained their minds to be a tool, not a cage. They know that overthinking never leads to progress. Only action does. Only action. And here's the gift waiting for you at the end of this message. Once you learn how to break free from overthinking, you'll unlock a kind of peace and power that most people never find. A quiet confidence, a clear mind, a focused heart, and a life that moves forward on your terms. Because your life is not meant to be a loop of endless thinking. It's meant to be a journey of bold movement. It starts with a single shift, refusing to let your thoughts control your next step. You're not here to drown in doubt. You're here to lead your life. So start right here, right now. Overthinking doesn't mean you're broken. It means your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's scanning for danger. It's trying to protect you from pain, judgment, or failure. That's how the human mind evolved. Thousands of years ago, overthinking helped us survive. It warned us before we walked into a dangerous situation. But today, that same instinct works against us. The brain can't tell the difference between a real threat and an imagined one. So it treats a difficult conversation, a big decision, or even a social interaction like a matter of life or death. That's why you hesitate. That's why your mind races. And the way your mind races. That's why you replay the same scenario trying to predict the outcome. Your brain believes that by overanalyzing, you're staying safe. But in truth, you're just standing still. This is the survival trap, the brain's false promise that if you think long enough, you'll avoid pain. What really happens is you avoid life. Fear of failure, Fear of rejection, fear of being wrong. These are not flaws in your thinking. These are deeply wired responses tied to your need to belong, to succeed, and to be safe. But those fears, if left unchecked, begin to dominate your decisions. They silence your voice, they paralyze your will, and they convince you that thinking more is better than acting at all. Here's what psychology reveals. Your mind is not built for clarity. It's built for survival. That's why clarity feels so rare. That's why your thoughts feel so loud. They're not here to show you the truth. They're here to prepare you for every worst-case scenario, just in case. But clarity doesn't live in your fears. It lives beyond them. If you want to stop overthinking, you have to stop trusting that every thought is real. You have to recognize that most of what your mind fears never actually happens. The more you understand that your brain is wired to predict danger, the more power you gain to step beyond it. You can't change the wiring, but you can change your response. And that's where your strength begins. The biggest lie overthinking tells you is that if you just keep thinking, the answer will come. That somehow clarity is hidden deep inside the worry. But clarity doesn't come from thinking more. It comes from doing less of what confuses you. It comes from stepping back, breathing, and letting your mind settle. Just like muddy water clears when it sits still, your thoughts clear when you stop stirring them up. Overthinking is fueled by the illusion of control. You want certainty. You want guarantees. So you keep thinking, hoping you'll find the perfect plan. But life doesn't work that way. There are no perfect plans, only imperfect steps that move you forward. The need for control is what keeps you stuck. It's what blinds you to the simple truth. You don't need to control everything. You just need to decide. A clear mind is not something you wait for. It's something you create by choosing not to feed every thought. You gain clarity when you stop trying to predict every possible outcome. You gain peace when you accept that some uncertainty is a part of life. The people who move forward are not the ones who know every answer. They are the ones who are willing to move even when they don't. The moment you realize that overthinking is a way to delay action, everything shifts. You begin to understand that thinking is easy. Acting takes courage. And courage doesn't mean you have no fear. It means you do it anyway. The longer you stay in your head, the more your confidence fades. But when you take even the smallest step, your confidence grows. You feel it. You believe it. You build momentum. This is where clarity begins, not in the mind, but in motion. You don't think your way to confidence. You act your way into it. You don't wait for a sign. You become the signal. And when you move, the fog starts to lift. The path doesn't reveal itself before you step. It reveals itself because you did. Your mind is like a muscle. What you focus on is what grows stronger. If you constantly feed it fear, doubt, and hesitation, that's what it learns to return. But if you train it with intention, if you redirect your focus, it starts working for you, not against you. The key is to take control of what you give your attention to, because your attention shapes your thoughts and your thoughts shape your life. Most people don't even notice how often they get hijacked by their thoughts. A single worry turns into a spiral. One mistake becomes a story about failure. That's the loop, and the only way to break it is to interrupt it. You don't fight overthinking with more thinking. You interrupt it with action, with presence, with awareness. Even something as simple as counting backward, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, can shift your mind out of autopilot and bring you back to the moment. You ground yourself in the present, you weaken the hold of fear, because fear only lives in the future. It thrives on what might happen, what could go wrong. But right here in this moment, you're safe. You're breathing. That's the space where change begins. That's the space where overthinking starts to fade. And it's not about silencing every thought. It's about separating yourself from them. Realizing that a thought is just a suggestion, not a command. A command. Just because your mind tells you something doesn't mean it's true. You get to decide what thoughts deserve your energy and what thoughts need to be released. That's your power. Every time you choose to focus on what you can control, your breath, your posture, your next step, you reclaim a piece of your mind. And over time, that control becomes confidence. That confidence becomes clarity, and clarity becomes your new way of living. Not by chance, not by luck, but by training your mind to follow you, not to lead you. The fastest way to get out of your head is to get into motion. Action breaks the loop. It cuts through fear like a blade through fog. Because nothing changes until you move. You don't need to figure out the whole path. You just need to take one step. That one move tells your brain, I'm not stuck, I'm not frozen, I'm in control. Overthinking thrives in stillness, but momentum kills doubt. The moment you act, even if it's messy or uncertain, your brain begins to shift. It stops obsessing over what might happen and starts responding to what is happening. That shift is powerful because it builds proof. Proof that you can handle it. Proof that you're capable. Proof that the fear in your head is not the truth of your life. Waiting to feel ready is a trap. If you wait for confidence, you'll never act. But when you act, that's when confidence shows up. It grows with every step, every decision, every time you move forward when it would be easier to stay still. The people who build clarity aren't special. They just understand this truth. You create clarity through motion, not thought. There is no perfect moment. There's only now. And now is enough. You don't need a full plan to take the first step. You just need to stop negotiating with your doubts and start showing up for your future. One decision, one small move. That's all it takes to build momentum. When you move, your mind shifts from a what if to what's next. That's progress. That's power. And the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. It's not about speed, it's about direction. Every move forward clears the path ahead just a little more, and over time, that path becomes something you trust. Not because it's easy, but because you built it yourself, step by step, choice by choice, with courage instead of comfort. When you stop overthinking and start moving, something inside you changes. The weight you've been carrying in your mind begins to lift. The fog clears, and for the first time in a long time, you start to see not just your problems, but your power. That's the reward of taking control. It's not just clarity, it's identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who's lost in thought and start seeing yourself as someone who takes charge of life. Every time you choose action over hesitation, you strengthen that identity. You're no longer the person who waits. You're the one who moves. You're the one who moves. You're the one who decides. And that shift doesn't just change how you think. It changes how you feel. You become calmer, sharper, more focused. You start to trust your instincts. You begin to trust yourself. There's a peace that comes from moving forward. Not because everything is figured out, but because you finally realize you don't need to have all the answers. You just need to keep showing up. Keep choosing progress over perfection. Keep turning the volume down on fear and turning up the volume on purpose. You've already proven to yourself that overthinking leads nowhere. You've already felt what it's like to be stuck, to doubt, to delay. But that's not who you are anymore. You've stepped into something stronger. You've stepped into a mindset that doesn't wait for clarity. It creates it. And what you see now is different. You're not overwhelmed by the noise. You're guided by direction. You're not afraid of uncertainty. You've learned how to walk through it. Because now, your mind is no longer your obstacle. It's your ally. You've taught it to follow you, not to trap you. Not to trap you. This is the beginning of your new standard. A clear mind. A strong will. A powerful life. Not one that's perfect, but one that moves forward. One that grows. One that refuses to be ruled by fear. You've stopped overthinking. You've started seeing clearly. And from here, everything begins to change.